Early on in the plot, we get to find out who has done it. The plot is about Mr. Mercedes, a mass murderer who drives a Mercedes through a crowd of innocent people, kills a bunch of them, and manages to get away with it. Later on, he sends a letter to a retired detective telling him, most serial killers get caught because they feel this urge, this need to repeat their crime. However, I do not feel this urge, and you're never gonna catch me. So this correspondence starts between Perp, or Perk, if you'll read the book, and the retired detective, where we don't really know who the fisherman and who the fish is. Each character tries to lure the other, to taunt them, to provoke them into doing certain things and not doing certain other things. Now, 2 points I want to make about this book are that, first of all, Stephen King's magic to me has always been that he manages to write realistically about unrealistic scenarios. He creates believable characters and puts them in extraordinary situations where, all kinds of weird shit is going on, and he manages to really sell this well, because by the time you're halfway through the book, you've already bought it, no matter what it is. It could be ghosts, monsters, aliens, whatever it is. You're totally sold. However, in this book, which essentially touches upon the theme of terrorism, Stephen King writes about realistic things, and from in my opinion, the ending, and by the ending I don't mean the last page, I mean the general way this whole thing is resolved, is quite unrealistic. You see, unfortunately, in the last years, we have all, in the recent years, we've all become more aware of terrorism and the way the state deals with terrorism, both on a level of precaution, how it deals with it while it's happening, how it deals with the aftermath. And I feel like if this book was written maybe 10 years ago, it could have just been another nice Stephen King story. But now, unfortunately, due to events happening globally, the way it's resolved, to me, it seems to be a little naive and quite unrealistic. So, of course, I'm not expecting 100% accuracy and realism from Stephen King. What I'm saying, however, is that I find it kind of funny how, he usually writes realistically about unrealistic scenarios, and I feel like in this case, he has managed to write unrealistically about a realistic scenario. Because, things that happen in this book have happened and could happen, unfortunately. Um, Now, another point I want to make is, you know how sometimes authors reach a really interesting point in the plot and then they switch to a different character or a different track in the narration, and then you just skip through that part and just want to see what happens in the part where it was really interesting. Stephen King does not do this in this book. When stuff picks up and becomes really interesting, he continues on that track, and I really like this because if anything, it proves that a good author, a master storyteller like him, can write like this and still make the whole book uh, really interesting and fun to read. Because I've always found it abrupt and unnecessary when authors switch to a different character as soon as things heat up, and become interesting. Overall, would I recommend this book? Honestly, I'd probably recommend a cookbook if it was written by Stephen King. And the fact that, to me at least, he writes a little bit unrealistically about realistic stuff, is not a bad thing. I mean, maybe the fact that he is such a great author, and really he's number one best-selling author according to this cover. Uh, Maybe part of his magic is that the antithesis of writing realistically about unrealistic stuff and unrealistically about realistic stuff, because, well, otherwise it wouldn't be Stephen King. Overall, I'd say it was really fun to read and an interesting concept. And of course,